The night was heavy with rain. Droplets tapped against the windshield of a silver car, creating a rhythm that echoed through the empty highway. The smell of wet asphalt mixed with the faint, burning scent of an overheated engine. A lone street lamp flickered, casting pale light over the deserted stretch of road. The car sat with its hood wide open, steam rising from the engine like smoke escaping from a dying fire. Next to it, a woman sat quietly, her figure wrapped in the shadows of night. Her golden hair, damp from the rain, clung to her cheeks. A thick bandage was tied around her forehead, stained with a trace of blood. A fresh cut grazed her cheek, and her arm was wrapped tightly with gauze. Her green dress, elegant even in such circumstances, was now marked by rain and dirt. Despite her exhaustion, her eyes carried a strange strength, a silent determination mixed with pain. A young man in a blue work suit leaned into the open hood of the car. His hands, darkened with grease, moved swiftly and carefully over the tangled wires and bolts. Sweat and raindrops blended on his forehead, sliding down his face. A small cut on his cheek was covered with a square piece of medical tape, a sign that even he had tasted hardship recently. His brow was furrowed in concentration, as though this repair wasn't just about fixing a car, but about keeping something far more fragile alive. The woman's voice broke the silence. Soft, trembling, yet steady enough to carry across the rain-soaked air. Do you think the car will run again? The mechanic didn't look up. His voice was calm, almost gentle. I'll do my best, ma'am. The engine's badly burned, looks like a short circuit. But I'll try to get it running again. There was no arrogance in his tone, only quiet determination. The woman studied him carefully. He wasn't just a mechanic hunched over an engine. He was someone who carried a sense of responsibility in the way he moved, as though her life mattered more than the machine he was fixing. The rain grew heavier, drumming against the pavement, but he didn't flinch. His jacket clung to his shoulders, soaked, yet he kept working. The woman adjusted slightly, wincing at the sting beneath her bandage. Her gaze drifted from the dim light of the street lamp to the young man's focused face. If you hadn't come, she whispered, her voice faint but filled with honesty, I don't think I could have made it through the night. For the first time, the mechanic looked away from the engine. His eyes were steady, sincere. I always take this road home after closing my workshop. Tonight, the storm slowed me down. When I saw this car stranded, I knew someone needed help. A weak smile touched her lips. Then maybe fate sent you here. He turned back to the engine, his hands moving again. Silence returned, filled only by the sound of tools clinking and raindrops colliding with metal. After a moment, she spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. My name is Alyssa. The mechanic answered simply, I'm Daniel. She hesitated, her heart pushing words forward with difficulty. Daniel, you don't know who you're helping. He chuckled softly, the sound tired yet warm. I don't need to know who you are. To me, you're just a person who's hurt, and people should help each other. That's the only thing that matters. The words landed deep inside her chest. Alyssa, one of the wealthiest women in the world, a billionaire whose name was printed on skyscrapers and luxury brands, was hearing something she hadn't heard in years, someone looking at her as a human being, not a fortune. For the first time, her wealth meant nothing. Her wounds, her fear, her humanity, that's all he saw. The rain began to ease. Daniel tightened a final bolt, wiped his wet hands on his suit, and exhaled. It should start now. But you need a hospital. Those wounds don't look small. Alyssa nodded, her voice almost fragile. Will you come with me? I don't want to be alone right now. Daniel offered a reassuring smile. Of course. I'll take you there. The car roared to life, its engine echoing through the silent highway. Daniel slid into the driver's seat while Alyssa leaned back, her head against the cold window, watching raindrops chase each other down the glass. The storm had passed, but the air carried the rich scent of wet leaves and earth. They drove in silence. No words were needed. There was a strange bond forming in the quiet, a thread of understanding that neither wealth nor poverty could define. At the hospital, Daniel explained her condition to the nurses. As they guided Alyssa toward the ward, she reached for his hand, her grip surprisingly strong despite her frailty. Daniel, she whispered, eyes glistening, you don't realize what you've given me tonight. He frowned slightly. What did I give you? Her voice cracked, tears breaking free. The feeling that someone cares for me without needing my money. You gave me something I'd forgotten existed, pure humanity. Daniel didn't reply. He just offered a quiet smile, a nod, and let her hand slip away as the hospital doors closed behind her. Days passed. Alyssa's wounds healed, but something deeper had awakened in her. She sat in her towering office, surrounded by the vast empire she controlled, yet her mind kept returning to that soaked mechanic under the rain. His words echoed like a bell: humanity is the greatest wealth. For the first time, she questioned the purpose of her billions. What good was her empire if it didn't serve the people who needed it most? And why had it taken a stranger to remind her of something so simple? One bright morning, Daniel was at his small, cluttered workshop, wiping grease from his tools, the hum of traffic in the background. His life was ordinary, but steady. He never thought much about the woman he'd helped. To him, it was just the right thing to do. Then the sound of expensive tires screeched softly to a halt outside. A sleek limousine stopped at his door. He blinked in surprise as the door opened and Alyssa stepped out, radiant, confident, her presence commanding even in the simple daylight. "Ma'am," he said, confused. "You're here." She smiled, this time not weak, not wounded, but strong. "I came to thank you, Daniel. Not with words, but with action." He frowned, uncertain. "What do you mean?" She stepped closer. "You saved me when I was at my weakest. And you never asked who I was or what I had. That's why I want to give you something in return. I'll help you expand your workshop, give you the resources to grow. But in return, I want only one promise." Daniel tilted his head, his voice cautious. "What promise?" Her eyes softened. "That you'll never abandon your honesty and humanity. Because that's the kind of wealth the world needs most." Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Then he extended his hand, a smile breaking across his tired face. "You have my word." Their handshake sealed something bigger than a deal. It sealed a bond. A mechanic and a billionaire, tied together not by money, but by truth. And so their story began, not just a story of fate, but of kindness that rewrote the meaning of wealth. The memory of that stormy night remained etched forever. The broken car, the bleeding woman, the determined mechanic. He hadn't just fixed an engine that night. He had mended a heart, awakened a soul. Because in the end, the greatest repair he ever made was the repair of hope.